Before we jump in and begin, I'd like to open us with prayer and let's have a moment to center ourselves before we get started with the few things we'll cover tonight. Let's pray together. Lord, we pause at the end of this day, grateful for your presence with us, even as we gather with excitement and anticipation of our journey that we will make in the start of the new year to the very lands where you walked and ministered and served and through your presence here on earth, changed the world as we know it. We come grateful for this group that has been assembled, those here tonight, those who cannot be here but will be taking part in this experience. And we pray that you would go before us, meet us there in Israel, and help us to come to a greater awareness and understanding of who you are and the ways that by your Spirit you continue to touch the hearts and lives of your people. And so be with us as we share this evening and keep us in your care. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, everybody got January 9 through 19 circled on your calendar, I hope.
Yes.
Those are the dates again, just for our 11 days in Israel. We are currently at 53 that are registered to go just from my group here in kind of the what we're calling Panama City. We've got some folks from other areas that'll be joining us, but that'll be in conjunction with Dr. Jeffrey Lentz, who's leading a group from First Pensacola, and Dr. Nathan Atwood, who's leading a group from Marianna. So we will have a sizable number of folks from the Panhandle of Florida and across the Southeast United States that will be going as we make our way. And there's still some registering as well. So our deadline is approaching, but it's not here yet. All of you are early registrants or are looking to register soon. And so it's exciting to see this trip has really filled up. The Holy Land is always a popular experience. And if you have not been, it is a different type of travel. We read the biblical text, we study them, we hear them in worship, we study in Sunday school, but everything becomes three-dimensional when you are walking in the lands where Jesus walked. So I am excited about this. I know Jeffrey's excited. I know Nathan is as well. We're going to be kind of sharing in some of the division of labor at different sites, and look forward to guiding you on what will be truly a life-changing experience. I want to spend this evening talking a little bit about the registration deposit deadlines, a little bit about our reading, and a little bit about the trip experience itself. And if you have your brochure, I've just brought a hard copy of it here. Continue to refer to this back page. Even if you registered online, we've got the itinerary inside, and I know I'm not holding it up where you can read it. I'm just showing you that's the inside. But on this page 4, this back page, there you find in that second column the due dates and notes by those dates. Now, if you registered before March 9th, which many of you did, you have an additional $500 deposit that's due on July the 9th. So know that that is coming up in the payment process if you registered before March the 9th. If you registered between March the 10th and will register between now and July the 8th, you have to send in or have sent in $300, and an additional $300 will be due on July the 9th. So whether you registered early or whether you registered late in that second window, by July the 9th, $600 should be paid toward your trip total. So just know that and track that with your own registration there on EO. If you have yet to register, There is still one more price break that you're eligible for. It's only $25, but if you register by July the 9th, then there's a $25 register early and save that is included there as well. So that's where we are with the registration and the payments right now. After the 9th of July, if you're considering going, if you register between July 9 and September 26th, then it's $600 to register at that point. So we're still in the early process in terms of the registrations, and won't have the second deposit amount until September the 26th. And we will definitely touch base by then. But I wanted you to be aware of this approaching additional deposit that is due on July the 9th. Any questions on that piece, just from a timing standpoint, or what's due or what's needed? Anything? I don't. Okay, so we're good there. We just want to have $600 toward our accounts if we are registered by July the 9th. The second thing I want to talk about is related to kind of the trip itself. Now, if you traveled with me to Germany and Italy back in the fall of last year, we were very fortunate in that we were able to go Atlanta over to Munich, Atlanta over to, or Rome back to Atlanta. And that's not going to be the case here because we don't have any directs from Atlanta into Tel Aviv. Got the Connors coming in. Let me add them. All right. We will fly out of Panama City to Atlanta, Atlanta up to New York. I don't know the airport yet. We won't get ticketed until later. I've done this out of JFK, and I've done this out of Newark, but we'll see which one we have. And then we'll fly from New York over to Tel Aviv. So it's a little bit more taxing in terms of the travel, in that you've got to go up and down, up and down, up and down on the way over and back. But the anticipated route will be Panama City, Atlanta, somewhere at the New York airports, and then on over into Israel. Now, in preparation for the trip, I would encourage several things, even starting now. One, learn about Israel, not just the biblical history, not just the Gospels and those things that we are studying. Those certainly important because we're going to see religious sites, but it would do well to learn about the history of the nation of Israel as we get ready to go. So get acclimated with this history, and you can look at recent history. You can look at more ancient history, but just get familiar with it and do that, and it'll be for your benefit. I'm only going to require one book this time, and I do require readings. It was hard to not assign several, but if I do that, then chances are none of them get read. If I pick one, the chances of you reading them go up. So we're going to have one book that, quite honestly, if you don't read it, you can read it in the air on the way over and still make a pretty good dent in it. So I see Frank really likes that plan. Others may as well. But the book is entitled Jesus and the Land. So Jesus and the Land, L-A-N-D. And it is by Charles Page, P-A-G-E. It's an older book, but it is very well written, and it helps with getting us acclimated to the sites that we are going to see as we travel about, and it interfaces with the gospel text, the Jewish customs, and the culture that Jesus lived in while here on the earth. So it's the only book. Here's a copy of it here. It's not that thick. It's 171 pages. So very doable. And it's got pictures, Frank, too. So it's got some pictures. So, but that's the one book that we'll read, we'll use as a common read. And I will probably recommend others along the way, because if you are kind of a bookworm and you want some, additional resources for this, EO will send a guide as well, and you'll get that in your packet. But this will be our common read. We will likely do some debriefs at the end of the evening. We travel heavily during the day. We'll eat dinner, and then we have time at the hotel. I won't do that every single night, but there may be a time or two where we pull together just to kind of processing what we've seen and experienced, and have 30 to 45 minutes to interface with the book and answer any questions, and just kind of have those moments. The other piece that I would say about this is make sure that you get a journal or some kind of notebook that you can carry. And as soon as you see a site, when you get back on the bus, take a few minutes to write down your own experience of that place. If you go up to the Mount of Beatitudes, and there we will read the first portion of the Sermon on the Mount, and then get back on the bus. Get that notebook out and say, Mount of Beatitudes, overlooking the Sea of Galilee. We read Matthew 5 and the first verses of the Sermon on the Mount. There was a boat off in the distance on the sea, or there were, clouds. But write those things down, because by the 9th day, you're sitting here going, was that the house of Peter Primacy, or was that? It is overload. And what taking a few minutes and getting back on the bus will do is it will give you fresh notes for your Sunday school classes, your disciple studies, anything that you may be presenting, where you can refer to those and go, when I was there at Capernaum, and I saw that boat, and I thought about what it must have been like to have been there in the Jesus boat with the waves swamping the place. That's a different experience than just reading the story straight from the gospel. So get your own experiences, because they're yours, they're unimpeachable. You may see and notice things that others don't see and notice that become very compelling for you. I got up a couple of mornings on the Sea of Galilee and went down to watch the sunrise, just to have that moment to see what that was like. And you have the chance to do that, but do have something where you can record your experiences so that you know exactly where you were, what that felt like. It only takes a minute or two, but it is invaluable as the week goes on and you continue to see these sites and you're trying to process, and it just becomes almost too much. So Jesus and the Land is the book, and then a small notebook where you can write down your own reflections, however that best works for you and your kind of ways that you learn. So let me talk a little bit about Israel. We talked about reading about Israel. We've got our book. We've got our notebook. The food is really good. Now that may not matter to some of you, but I am a picky eater. And if I'm telling you the food is good, you're going to be okay. Conversely, I went to Russia and lost about 15 pounds because the food is bad. You're going to be fine. They have really good food. You will find there's kosher pieces there that they still adhere to. So no cheeseburgers, No Chinese, Frank. No Chinese. That's right. That's an inside joke for this staff. But they eat well. If you have all the dairy products out, you're not going to have the meat out. If you have the meat out, you're not going to have the dairy. All of that's still in play. But the food is good. There's opportunities galore with cuisine. Exchange rates. Yeah, no bacon either, Garrett. So,
Okay.
sorry. Exchange rates, they use the Israeli shekel. And the exchange rates tend to float somewhere between 3.5 shekels to the dollar to 3.7 shekels to the dollar. That's a decent exchange rate. Obviously, that's in flux. People always ask, do I need to get some currency here? Do I need to just wait till I'm there? You can exchange currency very freely. Some folks just like to have that little bit in their pocket. Other folks, they're fine to wait till they get there. That's kind of a personal preference. But if you get the currency here, it's going to cost you a little bit more than if you wait. And credit cards are widely accepted. I think we've moved beyond even having to call our credit card companies to say that we're traveling abroad now. That should be fine, and they are readily accepted in Israel as well. You will have the opportunity for shopping and souvenirs and things like that, and just know that this is a country that does barter. We are not good at that in the United States. We walk in and that's kind of frowned upon. But in Israel, bartering is allowed. It's almost expected when you go in to, see the price. Oh, this is 35 shekels. And you go, I'll give you 25 for it. Well, no, I'll do 20. So that they like the game of bartering. If you walk in and pay full price, they'll gladly take it. But they almost expect a counter offer to whatever's there, and everything is negotiable with the exception of buying a car, which I know you're not going to do that while you're over there. But the irony is we negotiate our car purchases here and they don't over there. So feel free to barter as you move through the shops and the markets. And, some folks are better than that at others. And if you find that somebody in your little circle is really good at bartering, let them do the bartering. If they're really good, they'll probably get their own service fee from you too. Just know that that's part of it. Some folks love to shop. Some folks, everybody, so your souvenir money is going to be kind of dependent upon how much or how little you like to shop. Abigail reminds me all the time, she's saving money as she does this. I'm still trying to make all that compute, but if you are one who needs to shop, make sure you've got the shekels to do it. Also a good thing for this trip, English is broadly spoken. So you have a number of English speakers, and you are going to be fine in terms of talking with guides, talking with store owners and clerks, and things like that. So we're fortunate. Other places that you may travel, not necessarily the case, but English is spoken, and we'll be fine conversing. And our guides are very fluent in several languages. We're working with Jimmy Nemore, and I think he speaks about 7 languages. So he's good. We are, in Israel where they honor the Sabbath, and on the Sabbath, everything shuts down. I was looking at our day, and we fly in on the 9th, 10th. Let me pull up my calendar just to check this, because I'm trying to see where we will be. Okay, so the Sabbath will begin on January the 12th and continue to the 13th. And good for us, we are actually in Bethlehem over the Shepherd's Fields, which is in the Palestinian territories. And then the next day we're at Caesarea Tel Megiddo. So we're outside of the city on the Sabbath, which is excellent because nothing's happening in Jerusalem on the Sabbath. It just shuts down. Same holds for Jewish holidays. We don't have any major holidays that are going to hit during that time, but we're in great shape. Just know that that's part of their culture, part of their way of life. If you have traveled in Central America, you know that the military presence is rather highly visible. The same holds in Israel. So don't be alarmed if you're walking around and you see soldiers with machine guns and such. That's very much a part of the culture there, and they stay on high alert. So the military will be everywhere at the various checkpoints, just walking around. They might come on our bus, so don't let that unnerve you if we find ourselves in that situation. They're usually really good with tour buses because tourism drives the country and everybody loses if something were to happen to a tourist, but they still are highly visible, and security is very, very tight. You will see this almost immediately when you get in the country. They are vigilant when it comes to security. They'll pull me aside, when we get there as the tour leader, and they'll give me 100 questions about all of you. They may pull you aside and they'll say, Mr. Wright, did you pack your suitcase today? And you'll say yes. And then they'll say, you know why we ask you these questions, don't you? I mean, they screen you, not like TSA where you're walking through a machine. They've got somebody with pen, paper, looking you eyeball to eyeball, and they're good. And I watched folks in the last time I was there disappear and not come back in the security line at Tel Aviv. They went for additional screening, whatever that looked like, and I don't want to find out what that was. So, when you're moving in and out, just know that they're going to kind of get in your space and ask you some questions and let you yes be yes and no be no, and you should be fine. But don't let that alarm you. If you kind of act alarmed, then you might get to know them a little bit more personally along the way. They're good at what they do. But that's again the culture piece. You'll see a lot of military, and the security will be very, very tight. Weather. We are going in January. I've been in January once and literally saw it snowing in Jerusalem and then went sunbathing at the Dead Sea. So when you read the biblical text and it says that you are going up to Jerusalem, that's not north, that's up. And when you're going down to Jericho, that's not south, that's down. And it's a long way between the two. So it's measured by elevation. You're going up to Jerusalem, you're going down to Jericho. And within those 10 miles or so, we had snow flurries on the top in Jerusalem. And then we went down and we were all bathing in the Dead Sea with 75, 80 degree weather. Pack for kind of the seasonal conditions that you would expect. Women, some of the holy sites we see, they do want you to have kind of scarves or cover-ups, no low-cut shirts, tank tops, things like that. We were at the Temple Mount, and Abigail had kind of a low-cut shirt, and all of a sudden this guy starts screaming in Arabic, and she pushes me into him and says, "Take him." But he was trying to alert her that her shirt was too low. Now, understand, her too low was like right at the neckline here. Okay, so when we go into some of the sites, just beware of that need to perhaps cover your neck area. In some of the Jewish sites, men will have to wear the beanie there, and in some of those sites, the men will go one side, the women will go the other side, like at the Tomb of David and different places. So those cultural aspects are still in place. You'll want a light jacket just because of being inside in some places where it's cool, and some places, it might just be good to have it. Good walking shoes. And if you get a new pair of shoes, break them in before you go. Find out that they work. Don't use the trip to break out your brand new shoes and learn that they blister you. So get you a good pair of walking shoes, hats, sunglasses, all of those things. I think are very much in order. We'll be meeting again, but just so you can know, kind of, that's what you would expect in January, and layers are always good. Temperatures, will vary depending on the elevation. As far as devices go, they run on 220 voltage with the H socket plugs. You might find some of the C socket like you find when you're traveling in Europe, but when I have traveled with an adapter and a voltage converter. Now, your smartphones, they have, Garrett, yes, it would be, unless they've got the C for Europe in some of the hotels, you're looking for the H socket plugs for your converter. So this is different than what we had when we were in Europe, but it's 220 voltage and H socket. So adapter and converter, you want them. Your phone does have an internal converter, but I'm just the type that wants to go ahead and have the converter in place versus just plugging it in. Wi-Fi is prevalent, so we should be in great shape in the hotels. Now, if we're traveling in the rural parts, down to the Dead Sea through the barren wilderness there, not so much. But you do want to convert or talk to your carrier about international plans and data plans. Those are much improved than what they used to be, and very affordable. I had everything I needed for Europe, in Germany and Switzerland, or Germany and Austria, and wherever we went, Italy. And you can do that, just get it ahead of time so that you can be able to send your pictures and talk to your people and all that. Get a copy of your front of your passport, keep it with you at all times. So you have your passport, but go ahead and run a photocopy of that passport as well and tuck it into your luggage, so that if for some reason you did lose it, we can get you to the embassy and you can do what you need to do there. But don't leave without that photocopy as well. There are currently no vaccination requirements for Israel. So I think we are through all of that we had to deal with COVID and COVID-2 and vaccines and such. But in consultation with your own healthcare provider, you can tell them, hey, I'm traveling to Israel. Is there anything that you would recommend? Same with your medications, all of those things. You just want to make sure that you do what you need to do for your particular situation, but there's no vaccine requirement now to travel into Israel. So that's kind of a thumbnail sketch of where we are at this point along the way. There are a couple of housekeeping kind of items that I've seen on the EO site. Ray, I saw that you and Sharon double check your email that you have in the system, Ray, for you and Sharon, because I'm not sure that it's correct. I don't know that you would have missed any emails, but I didn't see the same email address on their system for what I'm sending you for the Zoom link. So if you can check that, that would be great. Let's see. I think I think the other folks that are not here on the call. So that's the only one I see on the call where I would want you to double check it. If you have roommate needs, and I haven't checked the roommate list and all, but if you are looking for a roommate, please email me and let me know. If you've worked out the room situation there, great. But if you're still in need of a roommate or would like to have a roommate, just email me and let me know, and we can look at what that will be, you know, for our travel around. So itinerary wise, I'm really excited about our itinerary because we progress with the gospel narrative. In previous trips, it's been kind of jumbled, and you'd start in Jerusalem and go to Galilee and down to Bethlehem. And y'all know that's not how the story works. It's almost a story in reverse. But we are going to start at Jericho, Qumran, Bethlehem. Then we go up to the Galilee, and then in the Golan Heights, Cana, and then finally down to Jerusalem. So we're going to emulate the Bethlehem, Galilee to Jerusalem portion of the trip, and then come back home. There are a couple of extensions, and I know some of you are looking at those extensions where you may stay. Some are looking at going on into Egypt. Some are looking at going into Petra in Jordan and the Dead Sea. Some are looking at the Nile River cruise. So all of those are still available. And if you are interested in going on those, they coordinate your extension trip with the others, and you're already there. If you've got means to do so and time to do so, it's well worth extending it just to add to the trip. But my intent right now is to come back with everyone, and if you extend, then you'll kind of be extending on your own with your new guide that will pick you up for the remainder of the way. So I'm going to pause right there. I don't see any questions that have come up in the chat. Garrett, you raised a couple of points there with the no bacon and also the converter. So I think we've got those pieces covered. If you do have any questions, you want to key them in the chat, we can do it that way. I'm looking around. You can raise your hand as well if you kind of see if you just got some burning question for the whole. But I'm looking. So, okay. Let's see. So we're.
What about tipping? Customary or not?
Yes. Tipping is not required, but it is customary. So that's a great question. And if you look. In the pricing, our registration fees cover the basic tour, guided sightseeing, international airfare, fuel surcharges, government taxes, administrative fees, entrance fees are included, hotel gratuities and program fees are included, breakfast and dinner are included. So lunch is always out on our own, and the lunch is typical $15 to $20 type fare, for lunch. And you can go with more or little on that. I always pack my own ration, so to speak, but I'm picky. I usually have a carry-on that's just full of comfort food from the United States, but that's just me. And then I put my souvenirs in it when I've eaten all my comfort food. So that's how I get my souvenirs home. But the lunches are good, food's good, breakfast and dinner are back at the hotel, buses are covered, hotels are covered. We will have gratuities for our bus driver and our guide, and I think the recommended gratuities are, let's see, a love offering for the guide and the driver. that, I want to say was $3 a day and $6 a day, but I'll double check what that is. That may have been for Italy. I don't want to quote Israel, but we do have that on top. So lunches, gratuities for the guide and the driver, and any of your souvenirs are kind of the not included parts of the travel. Garrett,
Can you hear me?
gotcha.
Okay. So what is the recommended amount of money to not really transfer, but turn into the shekels? 'Cause I'm not sure what the currency exchange is.
Let's see what they're running right now. It was 3.5. So dollars to shekels.
So is their shekel worth more than the dollar?
All right, it's 3.62 right now, so it's very much within the range of where they normally are. So you'll get 3.62 shekels for every US dollar on the exchange rate. So that's kind of right in the middle.
So
So 35
probably
shekels.
not as much. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, like 36 shekels will get you about $10. If you want to kind of price that out, just, and that'd be about
Okay.
the one. Yeah. Frank?
Because I know. Go ahead.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's it's my friends. They're waiting for me to get off the Zoom call. He said there's someone outside my car.
All right. Frank, what do you have? I think you're still on mute, Frank.
Yeah, I didn't have anything.
Go ahead, Frank.
No, I didn't have anything.
Oh, you didn't have
I was
anything? I
talking
thought you moved. Okay.
While we're asking that question about the shekel and the exchange rate, I know we're talking about the 3.5 to 1. So does that also then equate to, I mean, is their shekel basically like the dollar? Like does, 5 to 6 shekels, does that get like I don't know, a meal at a McDonald's type thing or something like that?
So about 35 shekels will get you a $10 lunch. So
Okay.
yeah, $1 will be 3.5 shekels. So you can eat at McDonald's for about that. For about 35 shekels, go eat at McDonald's. Yeah.
Okay, and that's what I was wondering. So 35 shekels might be that like a McDonald's type thing or something like that.
Yeah, maybe 40 shekels, because they have a 17% sales tax. So that's a little pricey, on their sales
Wow.
tax. So yeah, but 10 to $12, 35 to 42 shekels, kind of what you can expect. Obviously, go eat at a pricier lunch, a little more upscale, then you might see that bump to 50, 55 shekels. And you'll get a feel of it pretty quick. I mean, I know that's sort of an odd conversion, but if you want to get a Coke, you're gonna pay 5 to 7 shekels.
Okay. It's okay. Garrett and I'll be eating our prepackaged bacon.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yep. Get your cheeseburger, bacon cheeseburger. They'll love you. All right. Very good. So the biggest piece of the whole process is just that upcoming deadline related to getting our deposits in. And, my plan is to kind of call us together again sometime in September, just to check that next deposit deadline for everybody, which is the 28th. So just stay tuned. Otherwise, we're going to enjoy our summer. We're a ways out, but it's starting to come together well, and we'll continue to kind of talk. But you've got the book, you've got some overview about Israel, and we'll continue to kind of watch things, geopolitically, it had dusted up a little bit, it settles back down. That's just the nature of life over there. What I will tell you, and this is the analogy I use. If you only had the first 5 minutes of WJHG news every single night of your whole life, would you ever travel to Panama City, Florida? No. And that's what we get out of Israel. We get whatever bleeds, it leads. And so the perspective that you get when you're watching Fox, CNN, the BBC, whatever network you prefer, they're not going to say 99.9% of people got to and from safely to work today. 99.9% of the people, are doing acts of charity and service and volunteering. No. And we're not going down to the Gaza. That's not a part of our travel plans. We will go up to the Golan Heights area where we're on the border with Syria and Lebanon, and things can get a little dicey up there. You'll actually see old Syrian bunkers and such from the 6 Days War. The guides do a great job of keeping you away, from anything that might be dusting up. So be at peace about that. I have felt more threatened in many other places than I ever felt when I was traveling in Israel. So just kind of keep that perspective, and we'll move as a group and all. So obviously be praying for our time together, be praying for peace in Israel, and it's going to be an experience like none other if you've never been, and looking forward to all of it. So if you have any questions, something doesn't look right with EO, something doesn't look right on your registration or any of those things, email me, let me know. Do they take US dollars? I saw your question there, Ray. So I have not found anywhere that they have done that. Like in Panama, they would take the dollar and it's pegged 1-to-1 with the Balboa. But I've used my credit card and used shekels just to get around there. So I think we'll need to get the Israeli currency. Good question. And then prepaid Visa, as long as you have your access codes and it's up and running and those things, I don't think you're going to have a problem because they treat those like credit. The difference is if you run it on your credit card, you've got some protections that are afforded there that may not be offered on the prepaid cards. Those prepaid cards kind of get treated like debit cards and operate slightly different. But I think that would be in order so long as it's active before you leave the States. And Elsie, when to pay the insurance piece. So if you're insuring the trip, then in the and that's on the left side. Let's see, look here, just check it. The travel protection plan, which is optional. It cannot be added after you've paid in full. But the premium must be paid in full no later than the 26th of September. So if you are interested in that travel protection, then